Hello class, we are Team Rhode Island, also known as Team 4, presenting today on Zara. Our team members are William Shivers, Ivan Hung, Jai Bin Ho, and Tig Joyce. Headquartered in Galicia, Spain, Inditex is the parent company of Zara and 7 other retail brands. With more than 1,200 stores around the world, 500 of them being located outside of Spain, Zara specifically is looking to increase its global footprint. The first Zara store was opened in 1975 in Spain. Zara then began its international expansion in 1988. Known for its sensitive tastes and quick response to current fashion trends, Zara has built their success on their structure of vertical integration. Each stage of the vertical value chain typically represents a distinct industry in which a number of firms are competing. Zara's products include clothing, accessories, shoes, swimwear, beauty, and perfumes. Their 3 respective departments are men's, women's, and children. Despite its popularity in Europe, Zara does have some serious competition, most of which have adopted a more horizontally integrated business model. One company being Gap. Gap is a US-based worldwide clothing and accessories retailer that outsources the vast majority of their products. Gap also owns Old Navy, Banana Republic, Athleta, and more. Their presence along with H&M provides an example of how outsourcing can expand your operations. For example, H&M has individual distribution centers in each of the countries that it operates. The speed at which these companies introduce new styles into the market, though, is still slower than Zara. The textbook states that the first key question when formulating a corporate strategy is, in what stages of the industry value chain should the firm participate? Deciding whether to make or buy the various activities in the industry value chain involves the concept of vertical integration. The 5 stages are raw materials, components and intermediate goods, final assembly and manufacturing, marketing and sales, and lastly, after-sales service and support. Each firm decides where in these stages to participate, which in turn defines the vertical boundaries of the firm. There are, however, 2 types of vertical integration, forward and backward. Forward focusing more on the moving of ownership activities towards the customer's point, while backward focuses on moving ownership activities towards the inputs point. A textbook example of a successful vertically integrated company would be E&J Gallo Winery, the world's largest family-owned winery. With sales in some 90 countries, it is also the largest exporter of California wines. As a fully vertically integrated producer and distributor, it participates in all stages of the industry value chain. The benefits on this slide relate to how companies can secure scarce design talent and functional capabilities that they can leverage into their superior quality products and features, thus enhancing the differentiated appeal to its products. With ownership and control of the value chain in more areas, companies are in better positions to respond to demands and trends. This also facilitates the investments in specialized assets, which are site-specific assets, physical-specific assets, and human-specific assets. However, there are plenty of risks, just like there are benefits. Both the benefits and the risks can positively or negatively affect costs and quality. For example, in-house suppliers can have higher cost structures because they aren't exposed to market competition. Knowing there will always be a buyer for their products reduces their incentives to lower costs. Suppliers in the open market, which is much larger, can achieve greater economies of scale. Organizational complexity increases with higher levels of vertical integration, which also increases administrative costs because of coordination across multiple divisions, political maneuvering for resources, the consumption of company perks, or simply that the employees are slacking off. Furthermore, this can decrease the ability to come up with innovative ideas despite the small turnaround frame. Companies with greater exposure can reap the benefits of learning and experiencing, which effects can shape their capabilities. Given these factors, we can now start to look at how Zara sources and manufactures their products, along with how they plan to move forward in the future. To say that Zara does not rely on external processes would be inaccurate, because they do have international distribution centers and purchasing offices. However, nearly half of all finished garments are still manufactured internally at the factories Zara owns. Keeping this base in production allows Zara to stay vertically integrated. As far as distribution goes, Zara has their own distribution center in Arteixo, with smaller satellite centers in Argentina, Brazil, and Mexico that receive consolidated shipments from Arteixo. All of Zara's merchandise, from both the internal to external suppliers, pass through the distribution center in Arteixo. All the shipments were made twice a week to each store via third-party delivery services. 75% of their merchandise was shipped by truck to the stores, and the final 25% was shipped through the air. Usually, their deliveries arrive within 24 to 36 hours for the stores in Europe and 24 to 48 hours for the stores outside of Europe. For retail, Zara finds that using the backward vertical integration system is more effective for fast fashion. This allows manufacturing efficiencies. Zara invests in prime locations because even if they had to relocate a store, it is important because of their quick response to the evolution of shopping centers and their needs. When customers enter the store, they are presented with the feeling of, buy now because you won't see this item later. Since Zara takes only 4 weeks for a new fashion idea to hit the stores, the sense of scarcity is reinforced by smaller shipments. Display shelves can often be sparsely stocked, which gives products a life cycle of roughly a month in the stores. To reiterate, Zara is known for having a top-level vertical integration system which has allowed them to be a dominant force in the retail clothing market. This benefits their fast fashion approach due to a number of reasons, the first being Zara's focus on the customer. Companies such as Liz Claiborne, which was referred to in the case, outsource the vast majority of their products from Asia. Zara gains a clear advantage because they are able to cater to a broader range of consumers and create new designs in a shorter amount of time, thus retaining control of their operations, increasing efficiency, and ensuring responsiveness to seasonal trends. This is also supported by their creative teams. Looking outside the case a bit, there was an article written in 2016 on Forbes about Zara. The contributor, Kevin O'Mara, had the following to say: "For students of supply chain, Zara is an icon, relying on a contrarian strategy of vertical integration in retail apparel to introduce dramatically more new items each year. The virtuous cycle this approach sustains includes more frequent shopper visits to the store, fewer sales on markdown, and faster cash conversion cycles. This further supports the benefits of their vertical integration." Approaching business with this strategy allows Zara to decrease overhead costs by not dealing with suppliers, decrease time ineffectiveness, and decrease general issues with the supply chain. Not only can they produce popular items, but they can produce any items at a lower cost and in a shorter amount of time. This leads back to how the customer's needs can be met at any given time of the year. In fast fashion, there are short product life cycles due to new ideas being continuously created. If certain products can't pan out in the stores, Zara can remove them and make alterations to their approach. This gives them an advantage over the companies with longer wait times. Despite Inditex's system working tremendously for them domestically and in the surrounding European countries, there are some obvious obstacles if the strategy were to be to grow more internationally. On the fashion spectrum, Exhibit 5 in the case, companies like Gap and H&M that lag behind in prestige also see higher revenues than Zara due to a couple of reasons. Zara spends minimal capital on their marketing, which creates this feeling of exclusivity, yet simultaneously curtails exposure. They charge higher prices for their products, and they aren't horizontally integrated. By this we mean that using their current method hinders their ability to seize a larger share of foreign markets and implement the supply chain needed to actually survive in said markets. Exhibit 6 in the case does depict that Gap posted negatives in the net profit and percent of market value gain regions, but their broader financial situation allows them much more wiggle room to take risk than Zara. Another limitation of Zara's, should they decide to expand even further internationally, is the cost of manufacturing men's shirts in Spain, evidenced in Exhibit 3 in the case in relation to Asia. It costs €13 more to produce a men's shirt in Spain than it does Asia. This does not allow them to expand properly or to be cost efficient when tapping into new markets. At the bottom of page 19 in the case, it elaborates on how difficult it can be to enter certain markets due to profitability pressures and incorrect demand assumptions. South America and the Middle East are smaller markets. The United States isn't as fashion forward as Europe and has high operating costs. And Asia is even more competitive than the North American market. An industry rival, Benetton, had a horrific attempt at expanding into the United States and retreated in the 1980s. H&M have also hit trouble recently as retailing overcapacity is a present threat. The best course of action would be for Zara to create more of a stronghold in Europe, which is geographically, operationally, and financially advantageous to them. Again, in countries like France and Italy, where people tend to spend more on fashion, this would allow Zara to keep their current business model intact. For example, Zara's largest store in Europe is located in Milan, Italy, and the grand opening was a massive media event. This is a strength they should play off of moving forward, especially with Inditex's plans to open up 70 to 80 stores in Italy over the upcoming decade. In terms of revenue, Inditex trails behind its two closest competitors, Gap and H&M, despite operating in nearly double the amount of countries as the two other firms combined. Inditex is able to overcome this shortcoming, though, through operational efficiency. This is demonstrated through Inditex's gross profit margin of 51.91%, higher than any of its compared competitors. The working capital ratio reveals how easily a company can turn assets into cash to pay short-term obligations. Investors and creditors use this metric to measure a company's liquidity and short-term health. Inditex finds itself behind all competitors in this regard. This indicates that the company could have trouble paying off its short-term debts in times of difficulty compared to the others. Over the past few years of the case, Inditex has experienced considerable growth year over year. Net operating revenues have increased by over 24% each year, with cost of goods sold rising at a lower rate. This indicates that the company is improving the efficiency of the business, which has contributed to an increase in net income of over 31% from 2000 to 2001. Another indication of the improvement Inditex has seen is the increase year over year in return on assets and return on equity. Inditex has drastically changed since the writing of this case. The company has become a global retail giant, with revenues going from 3 to 28 billion, an increase of 770%. There has been an improvement in several financial ratios as well. The working capital ratio that was previously lacking for Inditex increased to a healthier level of 1.56, an increase of 52%. Subsequently, there has been an increase in the company's quick ratio from 0.59 to 1.25. Similar to the working capital ratio, the quick ratio measures a firm's ability to cover current liabilities with cash and items with a ready cash value. There has been an increase in the debt-to-equity ratio over time by 19%. However, this is not uncommon for a firm that has experienced the level of growth that Inditex has. Lastly, the company has seen an improvement in return on equity by an increase of 6.5%. This indicates progress on the profitability of the operation as a whole. Due to the impact of coronavirus, Inditex was forced to shut down their stores. Sales took a huge hit, and further stores will likely close in the future. However, some stores are now doubling as warehouses. This, paired with the committed investment in their digital operations, will allow Inditex to build their e-commerce platform even further. They have survived by boasting a strong balance sheet, integrated online business, and keeping a lower inventory than their respective competitors. Zara, in the future, will prevail and have continued success. Thank you guys for watching. This concludes our presentation on the Zara case study.